Hi everyone, my name is Rachel Parent. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Rachel's News. I have two incredible guests with me today. I have Sue Chiblow, and you are working on a moratorium to stop aerial spraying of glyphosate in your territory. And I also have Vandana Shiva, who is an incredible advocate and activist, a physicist, and has worked for years on ensuring that we have seed sovereignty and a healthy environment and food for all. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about our food system and about issues that we're facing, such as glyphosate and GMOs. So I thought I'd just start off firstly with Vandana and ask you a little bit more. What are some of the issues that are being seen, especially in India, in regards to GMOs and glyphosate and the struggles that farmers are going through?
Way back, Rachel, in 1985, I had been called to Guelph, I think it was, for a debate on the future of food. And David Hopper was the person I was debating, and he was talking about how, yes, all the problems of the Green Revolution were there, but it's all over because now we'll have genetic engineering, and we'll be able to grow food on the moon, on toxic dumps in the Sahara Desert. Well, in 92, we did get the first GMOs, and since then we've had two applications. One are the BT crops, and the other is the herbicide-resistant Roundup-ready crops. Both toxic. In one, you put the pesticide-producing genes into the plant, and the other, you put a resistance to herbicide so that you have more Roundup. In India, the only crop that's present is the BT cotton. It was introduced illegally. I sued in 98. Monsanto managed to legalize BT cotton by 2002. But its promise was you'll never have to spray, there'll never be a bug. Today, the bollworm is resistant. Farmers are spraying 10, 15, 20 times. 150 farmers died because of pesticide poisoning last year, and I visited them in the hospital. But more than that, the word GMO is not just a cosmological displacement saying, God, move over, as we've said. It is also an excuse to collect royalties. And even though we worked in India and we have laws that say plants, animals, and seeds are not inventions, therefore they are not patentable, Monsanto illegally collected royalties from the farmers and jumped the price of seed 80,000%. It wasn't working to control pests, there were failures, so it wasn't just an 80,000% jump, it was a 3 into 80,000% jump. Farmers were indebted, farmers started to commit suicide. That's as far as the BT cotton is concerned. As far as the Roundup is concerned, because BT cotton is failing, Monsanto is trying to expand its market illegally with illegal Roundup-ready BT cotton, an issue we have in the courts, an issue in which we are constantly reminding the government that this is illegal action and pointing out what Roundup has done around the world.
You've been fundamental in this entire movement to creating awareness about all of the problems that we're facing, not just about our food system, but you've worked in water issues, you've worked in climate change problems, and I have with me Sue as well, and you're working on stopping the aerial spraying in your community and in your territory. Can you talk to us a little bit more about the struggles that you're facing and how that's impacted your community?
Well, how it's impacted our communities, it's an assault on our knowledge systems, on Indigenous knowledge, on Anishinaabe. So we're Anishinaabe people from the Robinson-Huron Treaty area, and the forestry companies have been allowed to spray. The government has given them permission for years and years, and all they're developing is plantations. And so the animals are coming into our communities now because they have nothing to eat. People are becoming worried that the animals are going to attack children. It's the colonial arrogance that they think they can control something. And ultimately, at the end of the day, they just want more money. So they plant certain specific trees, and they use the glyphosate to kill out everything else that's coming up.
Right. And I mean, this is impacting your communities. Have you seen any specific health and environmental concerns that?
Well, yeah. So with a plantation, there's a loss of biodiversity, right? So that's a huge. It's an attack on the whole ecosystem. There's the berries aren't growing the way they're supposed to. The stuff is getting into the water. The moose are having. What the elders are saying is the moose are having miscarriages. It used to be very normal for us to see triplets, and now you're lucky if you see twins, and the government thinks it's a miracle if you see twins, but our history explains to us that we used to see triplets often. Asking the elders why this is, it's because that stuff is getting into the water. It's causing behavioral problems. The wolves aren't acting the way they normally act in a pack, in a family unit. They're straying off from one another. They're not scared of humans anymore. Before they used to be very timid and shy. Now they will actually watch you and watch where you're going. So their behaviors are changing. These are impacting our food systems. It's impacting our way of life. So ultimately, it's an attack to just, as the older people say, they've tried to get rid of indigenous peoples so that they can come and take the lands by various means, and this is just another way that they're trying to actually get rid of us and our knowledge.
Yeah, and I mean, Vandana, you found out about what was happening. How did you get involved? How have you collaborated since?
Well, I have the invitation from the elders who stand in defense of traditional knowledge, and I, of course, came and met them, and that's when I first met Sue. And I think the main thing now is everywhere glyphosate is being sprayed like an instrument of war against the earth and against communities and the sovereignty of people, where their permission is not being taken. I think the moment is now right for everyone affected by the poisons to start coming together, and that's why I gave a call for a poison-free planet by the year 2050, because our work in Navdanya, as you know, in India has shown we can feed 2 times the world's population with healthy food. By growing food ecologically, we can regenerate the planet and actually address the climate problem, of which 50% of the contribution is the industrialized, globalized system of eating toxic food that is nutritionally empty. We can solve the water problem because most of the water is either getting depleted or polluted because of agriculture that requires more water and then leaves the water with runoffs of nitrogen, runoffs of phosphate, runoffs of pesticides. In terms of desertification, which is such a huge problem that the world faces, just taking care of the earth through ecological agriculture reverses land degradation and desertification. And the big refugee crisis of the world has its roots in this. Intergovernmental panel on biodiversity has warned that if humanity doesn't change its agriculture systems and the land degradation carries on and the biodiversity species extinction carries on, we are going to have so many forced displacements that society will erupt and break down. Our work right now is to address the lies of the poison cartel, their crimes. That's why we did the Monsanto Tribunal in The Hague, to try them on their ecocide and genocide. The ecocide is killing species on Earth. Their genocide is killing people with cancer, with other diseases, with kidney failure in Sri Lanka or in Honduras. And of course the cancer epidemic is so huge. And as Eric Serolini's work showed, there's organ failure and tumors. And what they did was try and silence him. So it's not just a war against the planet and communities, it's a war against knowledge, it's a war against science, it's a war against democracy. And glyphosate has emerged as a symbol that shows how violent this regime is and how we have to build the alternatives and stop the governments that are allowing this destruction to carry on.
And I think that segues really nicely into my next question. You know, we constantly talk about food regulation and how our food is impacting us so much, but our governments don't seem to be doing too much. Do you believe that our governments are doing enough? And I think we all know the answer to that question, but for our viewers, what do you think the government could be doing more?
Well, the government should listen to the people and not the corporations for starters, because the government is corporations. They're driven by the corporations, but they get voted in by the people, and it's almost like a corporation has become a human and can dictate to the governments on what they should and shouldn't be doing. And they allow this to continue to happen without any acknowledgement. In that glyphosate spraying in our territory, it's not just the Indigenous peoples, not just the Anishinaabe peoples that are noticing this. There are other people up there that are trappers, that are loggers, and they're noticing the differences. And the loggers really don't want to say anything, but the other trappers are finally saying, okay, how can we help? How can we stop this? Because they're seeing a difference in the animals on their trap line. So it's not just an Indigenous or our problem, it's everybody's problem. And I think we need to create an awareness of the actual damage that it's doing.
Talking about governments and their role, interestingly, when Trudeau visited India, the only thing Prime Minister Modi and Trudeau talked about was pulse exports from Canada. Now these are glyphosate sprayed exports. And I've been writing about this. When we grow the best pulses in such diversity, and those pulses fix the nitrogen in the soil, and they give us 35% protein compared to the imported pulses from Canada, which is a pathetic 7% protein. So we are losing protein in our diet, the soil is losing its nitrogen, the country is losing foreign exchange, and we are importing glyphosate sprayed pulses. You know, recently our food agency was compelled to say to the people, don't eat it. And I said, no, your duty is to ban its imports. And that's why the movement for food sovereignty in Canada has to link with the movements for food sovereignty in all the nations here on this land and all the territories, as well as countries like India. We are interconnected, you know. And once poison spreads, it spreads everywhere. And as you said, the corporations are ruling, and who are they today? Monsanto has merged with Bayer, Syngenta has merged with ChemChina, and Dow has merged with DuPont. There used to be an IG Farben cartel in Hitler's time. Same cartel has emerged again. They were criminals then, they're criminals now. Their expertise was killing then, their expertise is killing now. And this really is the central issue for the future of the planet, the future of human health and safety, and the future of democracy.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, democracy is such a key point in this entire topic, and I've had the honor of knowing you for quite some time now, and I'm so inspired by your work. And I think a next logical step that a lot of people are talking about is potentially suing the government, especially in your case. How do you feel, for instance, Dwayne Johnson in the United States recently won a case against Monsanto and was awarded originally $289 million in punitive damages? How do you feel that case sets a precedent for the rest of us to be able to stand up against governments and make a difference?
Well, there's two things. First, you said democracy. Anishinaabe people, we did not rule with democracy. We ruled by unity, on the basis of consensus. And in democracy society right now, we can vote on something, and if her and I do not agree on it, we never have an opportunity to actually dialogue and figure out what the differences are and how we do move forward. So I'm not a fan of democracy. And then as for going into the colonial court systems to battle the colonial government and the colonial laws, and money's not going to bring back what's gone. We can't eat money, we can't drink money. Once the lands and the earth is poisoned, it takes so long for it to heal itself. So sure, we can go into a court system and the lawyers are going to get rich, but really at the end of the day, what are our people getting from it? And is the money going to be able to bring back the bush? Not at all. So that's just my opinion. And I know a lot of the elders, we're working towards, we had our own laws, our own justice system, we had our own education system, our own health system, we had all these things prior to Europeans coming to this country. So we are promoting, let's go back to that. Instead of coming up with these new theories and new concepts and new, let's go back to the old that worked.
But coming back to Johnson's case, I see it like the butterfly that caused the storm. Because that one case has made buyers' shares and buyer's market capitalization fall 30%. So yes, I agree that the real laws are the laws our community had because they came from nature, they came from society, they were about self-governance and self-rule in a very deep way. But where the court systems and the justice systems are the only institution, we have other institutions in indigenous cultures, but in industrial cultures all they have is the court system. And I really feel happy that a company like Bayer Monsanto, which has a record of corruption and can twist court decisions, in spite of that, they lost not once but twice, even when they appealed. And it has already had impact, like I said, on the future of these criminal corporations. They are criminals.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I mean, I think that has given the entire food movement a lot of strength to continue and a lot of hope. In terms of your case, what gives you hope to continue? And I'll ask you this as well. It can seem like a very difficult battle, and I understand as activists, going up against multinational corporations, going up against your government, what gives you the hope and the strength to continue?
The future. I have grandchildren, and they will have grandchildren. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's my responsibility to be a good ancestor, to do whatever I can do to make sure that they have the same luxuries that I've been able to afford by going into the bush and eating what's there and not worrying about whether or not I can eat the kidneys or whether or not I can eat the plant because it's too close to the water or anything like that. So ultimately, it's my responsibility to be a good ancestor.
And yourself?
Well, you know, Rachel, I started promoting a non-violent farming when I watched what happened to Punjab in the Green Revolution. And 87, when I was invited to this meeting where the chemical industry laid out its plan to rule the world through GMOs and patenting, I started to save seeds. And we've created community seed banks. Just by saving the seed, we find that if you do agriculture in nature's ways, rather than as war against the earth, we're producing more food. Farmers are doing better. The answer to hunger, poverty, climate change, I have watched in my 30 years of following the seed. And the seed gives me hope. Because when Monsanto in 87, Monsanto wasn't there, Sibagaigi and Santos were there, but Monsanto had later said that every farmer will have to come to buy seed from us every season. And that's where their profits would be, because patenting would have made it illegal for farmers to save seed. Today there are only 4 crops, about 7 countries. Most crops are not genetically modified. Most countries are GMO free. And the countries that weren't are becoming. The countries that had allowed Roundup and Glyphosate are saying we're going to ban this. So I think the movement for a poison-free, corporate-free future of food is growing all the time. Last year, the mayor of Mars, this little village in the Alps, had come to our annual festival Bhumi. And women from 20 villages of the Himalaya who've gone pesticide-free joined hands with this mayor whose village has gone pesticide-free and said, we are going to work together till these poisons and the corporations that sell the poisons are made extinct, not the diversity of life on this planet and the diverse cultures.
Yeah, that's incredible, and I think that message is what we have to continue to go forward with. The seed is what should be inspiring us and making sure that we're standing up, and what can we do to get involved? What can viewers do to get involved in your fight for a healthy environment, for cleaner forests, for your community and your territory? What can we do to get involved?
One of the things that the elders had started was a petition, because the governments listen to numbers, right? Whether it be money or whether it be human numbers. So they had started a petition, creating an awareness, knocking on the doors of forestry companies, being more educated and aware of what type of forestry products you're buying and where they're from. All of those sorts of things can help. Sending letters to local MPs, to governments, and the elders, the TK elders do have a website, reviewing that website and potentially making donations so that the elders can do travel, so that the elders can continue to fight this campaign, because right now they are, they're just doing it on their own dime, and pulling together people and having meetings is costly. We've been doing all kinds of cost sharing. We did some small fundraising events. There's bakery bake-offs to get some funds to assist the elders, so anything like that. And they have ideas on their website on how they can better assist, how people can assist them.
Amazing. And do you have a message for anyone out there who's interested in getting involved? What is your message to anyone who wants to stand up?
I think we often feel very powerless because the corporations are so big.
Yeah.
And because they've made themselves immune from people's voices, we feel we can't impact. But every day when we eat, we can create a revolution, because we can eat in ways that ensures that there are no poisons in the food we eat, which is also harming our health, and no poisons in the farms and the landscapes where that food was grown. I think we need to know what our food is, but we also need to be engaged with seeing how all our tax money is being used to subsidize this toxic food system and make it artificially cheap. And then we are told ecological food and organic food is costly. That lie has to be exposed, and we have to build real economies with true costs. And finally, for those who want to see how it is possible to not just have food for all through protecting the seed, but good food for all, come to Navdanya, visit the website navdanya.org, join the campaign for seed freedom. There's a website through which you can, and become part of this transition to a poison-free world.
Incredible. Thank you both so much for joining me today. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye.